Mr. President, some in this body seem to be on the verge of approving the largest trade deal in our nation's history with little debate, one rushed hearing, and barely any understanding of what we're signing on to. The last time Congress considered fast track was 13 years ago. The Senate spent 3 weeks considering that bill. But some would like to condense consideration of the biggest trade deal we've ever debated, and have it done in advance of Memorial Day. The reason, they know that the more we talk about U.S. trade policy, the more the American public doesn't like it. Trade Promotion Authority will give up Congress's authority to amend trade agreements. Not only will this affect Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement and so-called TTIP, the U.S.-EU agreement, it would affect any trade deal until 2021. With TPP and TTIP, 60% of the world's GDP is at stake. Millions of American jobs are on the line. This is too important to rush through with little debate and little congressional input. With the Memorial Day recess approaching, there simply isn't enough time to consider fast track in a manner that allows full debate and consideration of amendments. We don't even know if the Senate will vote as a package on all 4 bills that we consider at the Finance Committee, or just vote on fast track or some combination of the 4. If we voted on fast track alone, we'd be giving new rights to corporations while turning our back on critical trade enforcement measures and the workers who are left behind by unfair foreign trade. Imagine if just TPA, fast track, gets to the president's desk. We will have done nothing on enforcement, and we will have left out help for workers who have lost their jobs because of what this institution did. Fast-tracking fast track will prevent us from having serious debates on issues from public health to the auto industry to international monetary policy. During the Finance Committee's consideration of this bill, I filed 88 amendments to the package of 4 bills, 81 of those to fast track alone. I offered a number during markup. I'll offer more on the floor. I know Senator Menendez had a very important amendment, and he will be speaking in a moment, in the Finance Committee that was adopted. I know other colleagues have amendments that will be considered. We should debate these amendments to legislation as important as this. Now the majority leader who just spoke wants us to rush this bill through, to fast track in the last few days just to get it done, just so the public won't be able to find out what's in it. We owe it to the American people to not rush through something as important as our national trade policy. We owe it to the American people to spend the limited time available on the floor passing a job creation bill like the highway bill set to expire May 31st, rather than a provably job-killing trade agreement as NAFTA was, as PNTR was, as CAFTA was, as South Korea was. We know the real answer, that this deal amounts to more empty promises. If it were really good for the American worker, why can't the American worker see it? More corporate handouts, more worker sellouts. As many of my colleagues know, this trade agreement simply doesn't work for us. Here's what's wrong with the Trans-Pacific Partnership. First of all, with China, there's no guarantee it won't join later. There's no prohibition in this language, as far as we can see, with the limited access to the text, that China can't backdoor into this agreement without a vote of Congress, without any examination from the American public. Second, what happens to competition? American workers are paid a living wage. In Vietnam, the average is $3 per day. How do we compete with that? With currency, we know that China has gamed the currency system year after year after year. They don't play by the same rules as we do. And corporations shift from democratically elected governments to corporations. We've seen it in tobacco. We've seen it in public health. We've seen it with minimum wage, where corporations can sue foreign governments. Corporations in one country can sue a government, even if that government's passed a law democratically through a democratic process. Our trade deals, Mr. President, amount to corporate handouts and worker sellouts. People in my state knows what's happened since NAFTA. They promised NAFTA would bring millions of jobs. Instead, we've lost 5 million manufacturing jobs in this country since 1994. It's only since the auto rescue in 2010 that we begin to gain those jobs back. We know our trade deals force small business to compete with companies abroad who pay their workers pennies on the dollar. These foreign companies don't have to abide by the same American laws that we do. With so much to do at home and so much stake in this deal, we shouldn't be rushing the process of considering fast track. We should be working on a living wage. We should be working on paid sick and family leave. We should be working on equal pay for equal work. We should be working on investments to infrastructure and innovation. Instead, the majority leader wants to fast track, wants to put this trade agreement on the floor as quickly as possible. This body should deliberate methodically and carefully before we agree to become a rubber stamp for the White House's trade policy. It's not worked for us in the past. It won't work for us in the future. This body should not be rushing to give up our authority on trade. President, I yield the floor.